We are back, people. What is up? Make sure I'm live. I think I'm live. Going over the Dolphins Titans game. What a fun one, you know? I didn't take any notes, so we're just going based off of everything in my head. I just watched the defensive film, so that was at least better. I posted the offensive film breakdown earlier today. That was a rough watch. That was the worst offensive performance of the season. But like last week where Seattle was really bad, but it was like a bad game plan, but then also just like the people who usually struggled. But this, it was like bad game plan and everybody played bad on the offense. Even the stars, like they had some really, really bad execution just across the board. It was tough to watch. The defense, I think, continues to be the bright spot. It's not perfect, but there's a lot of positives, I think, to take away so far from the defense with under the new scheme. Good thing for some Weaver. I think the defense looks like they're going out there and like at least playing pretty high effort also. So got to give them at least some credit for that. But also when it comes down to it, it has been very, very ugly for the Miami Dolphins offense. Even before, I guess, like the Tua injury, like it still was ugly. Obviously, having Tua would help a lot. Like I think you could obviously win some of these games. Possibly Seattle, Tennessee, I think your chances of winning go much higher with Tua at quarterback. He covers up a lot of deficiencies. But even then, I don't think that's just like a quick fix. There's a lot of things to go over. It's still very early in the season. I know. I do think changes should be made. I don't know if it's like firing everyone right away is the answer. I really don't think that's going to change the outlook of the season. Yeah, reminded me of preseason where I said it's over with that too. I think it might be over with him. You know, the nuance is better than I do. Is McDaniel really this bad, or is it bad luck? To me, I'm gonna it's been very bad for McDaniel. Let me make that clear first. It's been very rough. There's also been times where I thought he put his players in a good position and they just didn't execute. So it's not just him. It's really like a whole collective effort. I would give him fire Gurr. I'm not against. I would be down to fire Gurr. I just don't think firing your GM in the middle of the season changes too much because usually the off season is where the GM is at their most important. But yeah, I'm totally down for that. I just think when it comes to McDaniel, I'm giving him the rest of the year. I think he's done. He showed enough in his first two seasons to I think at least earn the whole year. But like these first few games have been really bad, especially with Tua out. The nuances. I think there were certain play calls that people were mad about that I was like, whatever. Like that one wasn't perfect, but Dolphins really struggling in short yardage. I think the biggest problem McDaniel is having right now is the pre-snap stuff. I know you typically wait, but he needs to go now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can do it now. I'm definitely not against the firing Greer now. I just don't know if it changes really much now. You know, maybe it changes morale. I don't really see that happening. But yeah, I would be very much down for that. But when it comes back to McDaniel, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the biggest I think issue right now with Mike is with the backup quarterbacks. It's still just way too complex pre-snap. Specifically pre-snap, there's way too much going on. There's way too much pre-snap penalties. We're doing too many shifts. Like, it's still fine to motion, but the motion needs to be right away. It needs to stop being, and like, obviously they can't do the cheat motions. Like, not having two out there really hurts the offense a lot pre-snap. Obviously post-snap too. But the pre-snap stuff, trying to do that with a guy who's only been here less than 2 weeks is really, really tough. Like, Huntley played bad, but I don't want to put too much on Huntley because he's barely been here, you know? And he's getting asked to come into one of the most difficult offenses to run in the NFL. I think that's something that's at least been proven because everyone thought any QB can come into this system and run it. No, it takes a very specific skill set. And there's just way too much pre-snap. Like it's because they go from getting set up. It's a long play to call anyways. They go from getting set up. So you call your play, which is very long, like 16, 17 words. Everyone has to remember that. Then get aligned. But then they do their shifts, like, so it's not a motion. They do first, like, they usually do a lot of shifting too. So then they have like a couple players move spots, but then everyone has to get set before you do that. So then they have to get set again. And then now you're motioning someone and then you have to snap it. And doing all of that stuff pre-snap, I think is just like on the score. Actually, the drive that they scored on at the end of the game, they had somehow they scored a touchdown on that drive. I don't know how, with so many pre-snap penalties. That's like one of the biggest like problems I think with the backups in, but yeah. Sorry, let me read you guys' comments. So you be down to dump McDaniel or what circumstance? Is it about the record or win or losses or the broken record about the same old problems and no adjustment? It's not necessarily the record. I think if the record is like, I think it depends like how you get to the record. I think if like the team can start to show promise and you really turn it around towards the end of the season, I think there's like it could warrant him staying. But I just think it's too early in the process right now. I think if it definitely continues on this path or only gets slightly better, even if you pick up some wins, I think it's like, that's where they end up moving on. Yeah. Worst out, yeah. A lot of things I agree. He says he not put a game plan for Tyler, was nervous, confused. You run a reverse and toss run on 4th and 1. If Greer goes, McDaniel has to go, otherwise it'll be the same vicious circle the Dolphins have found themselves in the new GM. I think that's, it's fair to like think that if you want to just use like a complete restart. The only problem I have, it's not necessarily I have a problem. I think I would be totally fine with blowing up because like complete blow up, I would be down to do. The only problem is the Dolphins are not in a great position to do that with how they sign some of these contracts. Not necessarily the free agents, but like the guys that were already under contract for like a few years, like the Tyreek Hills, the Jalen Ramseys, those guys. Because those, you pay them and you're trying to like win in this next couple year window. So like doing that restart now, they're not in the greatest spot cap wise to do that. That's kind of the only problem right now and with that situation. McDaniels had inherited Tua because of Greer, and Greer had no backup plan for McDaniel. Tyler was playing inside Tua, but nothing that was yeah, but I mean yes, he did inherit Tua, but I do think that was, it's been clear that he's clearly Tua is McDaniel's guy. So, and to me, like Tua is one of probably the biggest bright spots of the team now. And obviously, I'm a big Tua fan. But if it is like they do decide to start over, I think I could get on board with that because of the injury stuff. I just think the one things that bother me are when people are like Tua is just horrible or awful. I really just, those takes can annoy me. But yeah, I think if it keeps going on this path, I would be totally okay with starting over. But it is still only week 4. I don't like to be overreactionary, Obviously, we get emotional watching the game in the moment where everyone's like, fire everyone, get them out of there. And it's understandable to feel that way, but I try not to freak out too early. But yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of McDaniel's system anymore, that's for sure. It's, you know what it is? Like, it's not the system, because it's the Shanahan scheme, right? I'm totally okay. I would love to still have a Shanahan coordinator. If our offensive coordinator still is from the Shanahan tree, I would love that, because I think the Shanahan system still works wonders and usually is the top offenses in the NFL. I just think the way the Dolphins kind of did it with certain personnel and then the way they've tweaked the system has been figured out. I think they have to just be a little more, and it's not, it's obviously it's easier said than done. They just don't quite have the personnel to be like super run heavy, and especially against the Titans, like the Dolphins have shown they can run interior runs because teams just don't expect it. I think it was a little tougher to do against the Titans because they're very strong on the interior. So hopefully in other weeks where they face maybe some weaker interiors, they can turn back to some power gap scheme stuff. I think that would help out the offense, maybe find some consistency. But that's something I think, the other teams can just do a little bit better that are also within the Shanahan system. Clearly the system can work. Like we've seen when the systems work, and it works about as well as any offense in the NFL. But it's shown it's very difficult, especially with backups in. But even when Tua was playing, the system was starting to slow down. It's just when Tua's in, you just have a much higher ceiling for big plays. Like the Tennessee game, like the game was awful, but we had Tyreek open for a couple big touchdowns. If Tua's in the game, you probably have a decent chance of hitting those. I mean, I'm not going to say Tua get to hurt, but Tua's solid, but the injury concerns are fair with Tua. Yeah, I'm with you, right? I love Tua, and it hurts to even think about it, moving on from it. If you have to complete reset, like it's definitely something I could see happening, and and I'm pretty sure there's like an out in the contract, but like also I would still be down to keep Tua because obviously I think he's still a very good player. It's just the injury concerns are very real, and you never know when you totally just reset with your coach and GM, they're probably gonna want to move on. What's up, Scotty? Devin Achane was garbage. Achane looked hurt last night, so I mean, I'm gonna not call Achane, garbage after one game, but he definitely had a rough game, and he looks just banged up. I think getting Mostert back will be helpful because I feel like Achane does a lot of good stuff on more limited touches. But yeah. Let me go there. But the defense was actually pretty good. I just watched the defenses. I read an article Ross was able to get insurance on half of 2 his guarantees. Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about. Like if there's like an out in the contract if you cut him before like March next year or something like that, sometime in March next year. There's an out on like the 2026 season, like 2026 wouldn't be guaranteed, and there's also like a $49 million insurance, something like that. That's not an excuse to not see the field. Yeah, but if you're not healthy, it definitely can struggle with your decisiveness at time. And I'm not trying to make an excuse, but like Achane is not the biggest problem right now. But I do agree that we should get Jalen Wright more touches. I think Raheem coming back will help. I think just distributing the touches maybe a little more evenly. I think keeping people fresh is nice. Hire Belichick? No, thank you. How about using some 5 wide on offense? I mean, I think with Huntley, I wouldn't mind going 5 wide. Some of the empty looks actually looked pretty good for Huntley, especially when they got him running the ball. I thought those were some of the better calls in the game. I'm not talking about, yeah, they do have like insurance on the contract. I think it's like it has to do with like him retiring, right? Something like that. Yeah, that's why it would be a crazy hit, but if that's like the direction they go, that's the direction they go. I still think it's probably too early to even speculate on that stuff. Like things can change drastically, like very quickly in the NFL. But back to the defense, I want to talk about the defense a little bit because I actually thought overall they played pretty good. They started to give up some decent runs towards the end of the game, but when you're on the field constantly, they're actually stopping the run well early on. Titans weren't even trying to throw the ball. I actually thought the DBs did a good job in run support. When they allowed the DBs to get close, like Ramsey and Holland actually made good run support plays. It wasn't Sealer's best game. I thought Campbell made some plays. Ogba had one of probably his best game of the season. I think Marcus May should be starting over Jordan Poyer. Jordan Brooks had a good game, I think. A couple of big splash plays. Wasn't perfect, but some big, nice plays. Storm Duck played the whole game and wasn't a liability out there, which is good. What other players was out there defensively to talk about? Those are kind of the main. Oh, Jalen Phillips got hurt. That sucks, man. Phillips could be so good, man, but just getting hurt. Paul had a solid game. I'm gonna do a Paul breakdown, but I would say he had a below average game. I think he just had, there was like there was 2 plays where he really messed up on that really hurt the Dolphins offense specifically that I can remember, but like overall it wasn't horrible. Had some good reps in there, but yeah, I mean, really could go either way. It just sucks that Phillips getting hurt sucks so much. Yeah, Chop was definitely struggling. Definitely not his best game. Why can't Lamb replace Jones? He's been horrible. Lamb is very bad at guard. Yeah, there's in my video I show the 2 plays in my video, but I'm gonna do a full on Patrick Paul video like I did in the offensive video. But Patrick Paul had one where he got isolated, where he gave up a very quick sack, just poor technique. And that 4th and 1 jet sweep, he was actually the main reason it didn't convert because he missed his block on the linebacker because he took some false steps. Wasn't able to get out there in time, which was the reason Tyreek Hill wasn't able to convert. But yeah, Deb. I think I mentioned that. No, I haven't mentioned. I was gonna mention this in my video, but that's a good point. Oops, sorry. But yeah, it was only really one bad drive from the defense. They gave 24 points on drives of less than 30 yards. I think it was like 27 yards to be exact. And even the touchdown drive that they gave up, they actually got a stop on that drive, but then they got that Kohu pass interference, which was like, the pass interference didn't even matter. Like it was thrown out of bounds, and it was actually like pretty good coverage. If he just got his head turned around, it would have been perfectly fine, but yeah. Yeah, what are we going to do about the O-line the rest of the season? We have like no depth. Yeah, O-line's in a tough spot. But to be fair, I feel like I see a lot of people harping on the O-line. Yes, the O-line hasn't been good, but I actually don't think they've been the main issue with the offense. Surprisingly, I actually feel like some of the other units have been worse. Like the tight end unit's been really bad. I think running backs have missed some reads that have hurt the O-line. because they've actually had some good run blocking reps. Last night was not a good run blocking day. Titans definitely bullied them in that regard. But like the rest of the games, they actually ran block pretty well. Play calling has hurt, but yeah. So just can't play boundary. Yeah, he shouldn't be playing. Well, it's that specific play, he was in the slot against Hopkins, which Hopkins is a tough matchup. He had good coverage. He just got a penalty, which sucks. We will find out in about 15 minutes if Hunt is activated or if Win is activated. Oh yeah, the PUP stuff. Ryder. Yeah, tight end unit is playing horrible. Yeah, Jones. Jones needs to. Yeah, Jones has been really bad. It's just Dolphins are in a tough spot. Things can turn around. They obviously have the talent to still, and we've seen with a similar offense last year what the offense can look like. So I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm sure it will improve at some point, especially if Tua comes back. I'm sure it will look better, but I don't know if it will ever reach. I doubt it will ever reach that point of it was it last year at that peak, you know. And if it doesn't get back to that, I have a hard time seeing it stick after the season, you know. Brandon Jones is playing well. We let him go. Same for AGB. I would be fine with letting Brandon Jones go, but AVG was definitely a mistake. Which what do you make of the complete lack of effort to get tight ends at Jonas Smith? I feel like because I will say I think them not using. I understand why they don't use Jonnu Smith in like those obvious like as a in-line blocker. Like he's not a great in-line blocker, so I understand that leaves him off the field sometimes. But like, why isn't he out wide on those screen passes? You know, those screens where we throw it to receivers or running backs? Why isn't he out wide blocking instead of a receiver? Because our receivers can't block. Because he can at least block DBs better than our receivers can block DBs. Why is he not out there on those plays? And then why isn't he getting involved? Especially with Huntley. Huntley loved targeting tight ends while he was in Baltimore, whether it was Andrews or Likely. I don't understand why we're not getting the tight end more involved. I feel like I think that's more on the coaching than it is on Jonnu. I feel like not giving Jonnu those opportunities is a mistake. You think we trade Reek? No. Like, Greer and McDaniel are fighting for their jobs, so like, unless Stephen Ross was like, we're trading people away, like then they're not going to trade people away because unless their jobs were guaranteed, you know. How do you think Washington played Malik? In his limited snaps, I thought Malik played like fine. He got one catch on that one target, looked solid. I mean, I'd love to see Malik get more involved. I wouldn't say there's anything negative to say. I didn't go out there and think like, oh, Malik had these awful plays. Like out of the unit, he was probably one of the guys who had one of like some of the least, you know, amount of plays where like, oh my God, what are you doing? Because I don't remember seeing any of those on film. So I think if Malik gets more involved, I'd love to see that. Nothing too negative to say about Washington. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, on that, yeah, one of those tosses. Yeah, Sweat definitely had a dominant game. Let's see. What else did I see out there? Yeah, there's some sacks where it was more looks like it was on like that Austin Jackson sack that people where he gave up the outside rusher. He was actually supposed to do that. So I want to blame him for that play. Apparently, Snoop Huntley had the most off-target passes of 10 plus yards. Great. We missed some opportunities there. PFF had Eichenberg as the highest graded offensive player, which is sad. Just looking through my Twitter likes. Oh yeah, Garrett Nussmeier I've liked there. Probably one of my favorite QB prospects. It might be draft season, guys. It literally might just be draft season almost. Chop is a bust. It's been 4 games. That is overreactionary. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the Chop pick. I've said I would have taken other people. Even Patrick Paul. Like everyone knows I wasn't a big fan of Patrick Paul. Like I wouldn't call any of these guys bust yet. Like it's literally been 4 games since their NFL career. And statistically, Chop was putting up high pressure rates through the first 3 weeks, like top 5 actually in the league. This game he was non-existent, I'll give you that, but like calling him a bust is insane. You got to wait at least like 2 years. Tua goes down and everything is dysfunctional. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you don't feel that me considering OBJ, Poyer, Chubb based on where we are. I would start. Okay. Oh, I would be if the season's falling apart. I'm all down for trading people away for draft picks. If we were going to restart, let's restart. The only thing is the reason I don't think they're going to do that is because why would Greer be like, oh, I'm just trading away my players for another GM, you know? So unless like he thought he would be sticking around, why would he be making trades away, you know? That's really the only reason I don't see those things happening. But I would love to start accumulating picks. That's why it's like, hey, if they trade Greer away or then they cut or they fire Greer, and like if the other GM thinks he has a chance to stay, then maybe. Confidence level in McDaniel, they can turn it around on a scale of 1 to 10, or if we lost locker room. It's starting to look pretty bad. I would say my confidence level has dropped. I don't know 1 to 10 how to rate it, but it would be below half. I wouldn't say it's a 1 though. Like I wouldn't say I'm as negative as some people. Because it's never over. It's not over until it's over, you know. I would give him the rest of the season, but we'll see. What do you think Tyreek was screaming at McDaniel? Well, I think he was just screaming at everyone in general, including McDaniel. Because he wasn't going exactly at McDaniel all the time, but I think he was just pissed off. I mean, somebody should be screaming. Like, he obviously pissed about probably getting missed a couple times by the quarterback in some of the play calls, but also I think he should be pissed at himself. Like, he showed some, like, that lack of effort, I mean, is just terrible on that fumble. I mean, realistically, out of certain plays, like, I would have him just run deep every play from now on. Whether he's clearing out moves or clearing out, like, space for your other receivers, or he potentially gets open. Would Ross really, if Greer goes, I feel sure would be here as a GM and same old. It's definitely possible, Scotty. I think that's a very likely possibility. That's why I'm not like, it's all just so early. Like, this is all just speculation because, like, as I said, like, things can change so fast in the NFL, like, with teams and, like, how people view coaches. We've seen it this year. Like, people went from viewing McDaniel very positively to negatively, and just, even before this game, it probably took, like, 3 games to be in, like, get him out of here. That's how fast things can change. And we don't know what Ross is thinking, so I wouldn't be surprised if, based on the contracts, based on how the team is built, they don't do a full-on rebuild because they can't quite do it with the money they pushed out. I think this is a bit overreaction, but if Miami Dolphins, why not set Hill and Waddle down, tank for top 5 or top of pick? You never know that you can trade that pick. Yeah, I mean, well, you can't, like, tank on purpose, or, you know, you get in trouble with the league, but, like, I'm not against, if the season's over, I'm not against, like, losing games, but, like, the team's like, the team and the coaches and the GM, if they know they're going to get fired and they're fighting for their jobs, they're not going to go out there and just lose on purpose, you know? Jared Verse is playing amazing. Yeah, I wanted Verse over Chop, but Verse got taken before Chop, so we didn't even have a chance at him. McDaniel, yeah, it's definitely too complex for what we have out there. I think you just need to simplify it. Yeah, if Greer thinks, like, if he's told he's staying, then yeah, I think he would probably start to trade away players. It's just, I don't know if, I guess you could potentially fire Greer and then say Shore becomes GM, and then, like, interim GM, and then maybe he's like, okay, I have a chance to stay. Maybe I start trading away, showing things that I could do, and he starts making moves that way. That could be possible too. I just don't see it happening right now. I still think the Dolphins are trying to win. And the next 2 games are very winnable. Like, the Patriots and Colts are not good teams. Dolphins are obviously not a good team either, but all it takes is getting a little bit of lucky. One play goes your way. You hit Tyreek on one of those long bombs versus one of these teams and you win the game. Or a defense, you score a defense or special teams touchdowns. Like, these games are still very winnable. I wouldn't put money on Miami, but, like, if they go 3-3, which I doubt, my guess would be 2-4. I think they are going to squeak out one of them. I don't know which one, but I'm guessing 2-4. Which McDaniel gave up play calling? Potentially. I think that might be the next domino to fall. I think we might be at that point where he gives it up to either Smith or Bevel. Because I think McDaniel has shown he obviously knows how to do good play design. Like, obviously, there's a lot of teams around the league that have copied his stuff. but I think his situational play calling in certain, like, obviously like third and fourth and short situations, some early down stuff I don't agree with. Sometimes it's on the players too. Sometimes it's a mix and match. But I do agree there's maybe giving one of those guys a chance. Maybe they'll be a little more ground and pound. Like, I wonder if, because I don't think Frank Smith has called plays and he's our OC, but he is a former offensive line coach. Usually offensive line coaches like to pound the rock. Obviously, Darrell Bevell has experience calling plays when he was calling plays in Seattle. And he had some good stuff there, some not so good stuff. But yeah, would be interesting to see. I think that might be the next thing to switch up. But also, yeah, he might not give it up because he's also fighting for his job, you know? Laura is supposed to bet, yeah. If there's one more blowout loss, then maybe Ross hits the button, or on Greer, maybe everyone. Potentially. Actually, what if Miami Dolphins officially Tua on... I don't think they'll put Tua on the trade block. I don't know. I think teams would probably stay away from trading from Tua just due to the injury history. I don't think you'd get much for him. And he's also would be expensive. Yeah, not sure if you noticed, but the first long pass that Hill stacked Snead, Huntley underthrew him. Yeah, and the next one was an overthrow. He slowed down. I didn't really notice him slowing down, but I did see like maybe he wasn't like full top-notch speed when he was getting past, because he was pretty deep downfield when Huntley released it. And then there was also another play where Tyreek got open deep but didn't get targeted. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Doug Peterson is a little farther along. I think the Jaguars are probably a little far, because like they're probably like a year ahead of the Dolphins. Like the Jags should have already fired Doug Peterson, I think. They're at the point where they're going to fire Doug Peterson. For me, McDaniel's like a full kind of year behind. He's this is like, because last year was the Jaguars' year of their downfall, but they just waited too long. They waited an extra year to probably blow it up. McDaniel, I think, gets at least until the end of the year to see if he can fix it. If he doesn't, then you move on, but we'll see. Waddle had a drop. Yeah, the Stars were making mistakes. Tyreek made a bonehead mistake that caused a turnover on the first drive. Waddle had a drop, and it looked like I think he got banged up at one point. It wasn't like major, but he was going in and out of the game. Yeah. Hill and Waddle are Tua ops. Yeah. And also the Waddle drop had the spacing on that was weird, or the receivers were in the wrong spot, because Malik Washington was in front of Waddle on that play, and he like put up his hands like he was going to catch it and then pulled it away because it was like a little out of range. So there was something a little weird with the spacing of that route concept. LOL, we were horrible before McDaniel. How quick people forget. I actually do agree with like this take. I feel like people are very quick to like turn on people and also like move on. That's why I'm being like want to be patient about it, because I think things can change. And he's obviously shown that he can do really good stuff play calling wise. But also it can get much worse. It's been much worse for Miami. This is the last year. The last 2 years under McDaniel was probably the best it's been for Miami in 20 years. And just because you start over, it could easily get worse. Even if you completely start over, you could draft a new QB and he's a bust. Worse, it could be worse than Tua. It could definitely get worse, and it will get worse, I would think, initially, because it would probably be like a full-on reset. But there's a different ways to look at it. Nobody can win those trash QBs and horrible online. That's on Greer. It's definitely partially on Greer, but I think you're underestimating how like the effect the O-line has from McDaniel being here. Like that's just a part of that Shanahan tree thinking. Like they don't put as much stake on the interior offensive line. So I think that's a reason you don't see them putting as much resources on the interior line, is also a McDaniel thing. So I think it's probably mainly a McDaniel thing, is why they don't draft O-line interior. Now, if you want to blame Greer for the players they did add, then yeah, that's fair. But after the bye, fully healthy offense with attitude could make a run getting hot at the end of the year for once. It would be great if we got hot at the end of the year. I give McDaniel this full year for sure. Yeah, I agree. Their half decent offense was part of a 10-win season with 3 where people forget. Personally, I thought Chan Gailey was not the best. Well, specifically for Tua, but yeah. Obviously, Fitzpatrick had some experience within that offense. But sometimes just because you're winning doesn't mean, like, obviously winning fixes a lot of people's problems. But just because you're winning a game, just because you win a game or win 2 games, doesn't mean your team isn't showing a lot of problems, whether it's coaching or players specifically. And you can see how those problems could manifest in the future into losses. Greer said he wasn't worried about the offensive line. How does that look now? Well, most people weren't worried about the whole offense, and the whole offense looks horrible. Not even just the offensive line. Like, there's other rooms that look worse, so. I agree. I mean, obviously I was one of them that wanted more offensive line players. Like, I wanted us to draft like a Graham Barton or something like that. Go look at the roster when Chan was here, writer. Yeah, I mean, I remember the roster not being great, but like I remember watching it and breaking down the film. Like, Chan Gailey's offense was not very well called. I mean, that's just how I remember it. I could go back and watch it and maybe I would change my mind. But I remember watching the film and being like, what is he doing? Like, it was like, especially, I mean, but that's just my opinion, but it is what it is. Yeah, just, I would say being patient is a fine move right now. It is only week 4, but if it does continue and we can clearly see, like, I know people are starting to say losing the locker room. I think it's obviously you can potentially speculate that, but we don't really know that. But if it does seem that that's where that's going. Fitz and Chan were ballin'. Billy, aren't you a Tua hater? So if Fitz and Chan were ballin', what were Tua and McDaniel doing last year? Because if you're saying they were trash, then you're just a hater. I'm dropping frames. Let's see if I come back. Oh, I'm at 0 frames. Am I completely gone? Oh, am I back? Can we at least fire Crossman? I'm down. Even though I don't know if special teams is that big of a problem right now, but I don't really know. They need to do something. Hopefully maybe Huntley being here another week and he has to play can be fine. They're not trash, but it's what have you done for me lately, league, right? Oh, I agree. It's definitely a what have you done for me lately, league. Probably too much. I think recency bias is always a big thing in the league. But yeah. Yeah, cross me anytime. Oh, what happened here? Yeah, I think I'm fine. The offense is either completely Tua or the offense is just not doing it anymore. Yeah, it's obviously the offense would obviously be better with Tua, but also I think the offense has just been showing signs of slowing down. Even with Tua in the game, obviously they have a lot more potential and can still score and obviously show at least something of moving the ball. But it has looked like it was slowing down even before then. But it's an everyone problem. Yeah. Appreciate you, W. Just trying to, it's a tough point in the season. Trying to stay fair, you know, to everyone involved, but also be critical. And who knows? I'm a big draft guy, so if it does become draft season early, then I'm not guess I'm not against it being a little bit. I mean, having a top pick could be fun. I have no. It's way too early to speculate what direction they would go. You'd have to see what they do with the coaching staff and the general manager if they were to fire. If it was a complete reset, then you're probably looking at QBs. If it wasn't a complete reset, you're looking at O-line, D-line, potential back. Come on. I think I just logged out. Coach Gruden and Mike Mayock, let's go. Dude, I would be so mad if we hired Gruden and Mayock. You want to run back Raiders 2.0? Not a fan of next year's QB class. Yeah, I would say it's early. There's a couple guys that I'm like, but like I don't know if any of them are top picks, you know? But I will have to. I think I need to wait till the end of the season before I make any end judgments on. I wouldn't say the 2025 draft is shit. I did see like the top of the draft. Like there's only like a 10. I know Nagy said it. The Senior Bowl guy. He said like, and he talking to other teams like there's only like 10 guys they see as like really quality first rounders, which is below average. But it is like a deep class. Like there is a lot of talent in the class, but there's not a lot of super high end guys. So like overall, I actually do think like there's a lot of good players. I think the DB class is pretty good. Running back class is good. I thought there was some good old linemen. The receiver class is a bit weaker than usual. But there's still players there. There's a lot of names in the QB class. We'll see who declares and who doesn't declare, but I don't know if there's any like super standouts. I know a lot of Miami fans like Cam Ward because of the Hurricanes. He is one of the top guys, but I still have some issues with his play, but it is early in the process. I just don't see him doing a complete reset. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think if it continues in this direction, like exactly how it's going, I think I could very well see a complete reset. But I do agree that having a complete reset, when you take in all the full picture of everything they've done before the season, would probably be a little bit of like, oof, a little bit of an overreactionary move. Yeah, basically what Scotty was saying. Really want to trade. Yeah, I don't see them trading Tyreek. Unless the only way you trade Tyreek is if the season is truly over and you're actually doing a full reset. Give me Ashton Giant. Yeah, the only problem is we don't need. He's going to go in the first round, and running. There's a lot more needs than running back, but he is an absolute beast. He was my RB1 going into this season. Like he was my favorite guy. I have a couple friends at Boise State, so definitely knew about him. Thought it was classless for the Titans to score with 30 seconds left. It's whatever. I think it was just fourth down, and instead of kicking a field goal, they were like, whatever, we're just going to run it. If we get in, we get in. If we don't, then it's, you kneel it out on the other side. But yeah, I didn't really care, to be honest. It is what it is. But yeah, let's see, is there any players I didn't talk about that played? Anyone that I was like surprised by or that played horrible? Hopefully Kendall Fuller returns. Marcus May should be playing over Poyer, I believe. I think Poyer is washed. Titans didn't even try to throw the ball in this game. They were just running the ball. They were just like, basically the Titans offense was just playing not to lose. And then the Titans defense was playing super aggressive and was like, hey, throw the ball down the field. That's why you got those looks downfield where Tyreek was open one-on-one a few different times, because the Titans defense was just not respecting the throwing game. I think I saw Rucci play. No, I believe Rucci is on the practice squad and was not elevated. Milrow. I think play Kamara, bench Bell. I'd be down. I actually did. Bell actually made a positive play. I'm gonna have a positive Quinn Bell play in my breakdown, defensive breakdown tomorrow. Isn't that surprising? He made one positive play. But yeah, I would love to see Kamara out there. Milrow. I mean, I'll give credit to Milrow. He's definitely improved a lot since last season, but I need to see the full season play out. There's definitely some intriguing traits there, but I'm not completely sold on Milrow. Honestly, my favorite QB to watch so far has been Nussmeier, the LSU kid. And he would probably be the best fit for this scheme the Dolphins run, but you never know it could be a different scheme by then, I guess. How do you think Riley did? Not well. I think Riley should be cut for that special teams play alone. Because it was, even though it didn't end up being a turnover, oh my god. That was the dumbest play of the night. What was he doing? How many dumb, like, there were some dumb specialty, like, what was that? It was the onside that we did off the safety. Obviously, it didn't matter because the game was over. But, like, there's landing zones that you need to have on onsides now, on safeties, on what? I mean, yeah, I guess there are Tyndall out there. I mean, Tyndall's not going to play good either, but it's whatever. Fire Crossman. That should be the hashtag. Oh man, that's so funny. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When does Malik played last night? It was his first game. He had a catch, actually. I think it might have been in the fourth, his first catch, but he played some snaps. I believe PFF had him as the highest graded second player on the offense. So he didn't play that much, so take that with a grain of salt, but in his one target, he caught it and gained like 7-8 yards. And I actually think I think the Dolphins actually going out wide, like I think going under center, using play action is fine and committing to the running game. But sometimes you got to spread it out. Actually have some slot receivers and tight ends on the field that can just, get upfield, sit, find soft spots versus zone, be reliable hands that you can make easy, like just easier, less complex plays for these backup quarterbacks to complete. And I think Malik and like a Jonnu Smith, getting them more involved on those types of concepts would be very helpful for a guy like Huntley or whoever ends up playing as the QB. Also, I mean, dude, even the Tennessee special teams coach was so pissed at them. Like, what was Tennessee doing on that play? They signaled for care catch it and didn't even try to catch it because I guarantee those players didn't know the rules and they just let it bounce. Like, what? I turned TV off so I didn't see him. Yeah, well, he was playing he was playing like snaps throughout the game, but then he finally got one target. I think it was just like he was lined up in the slot, ran an out route at about like, he had like an option route, I believe. Caught it, boom, got about 7 on the play. Do you honestly think at this point McDaniel is capable of leading this or any team? I think he's capable. Right now he's doing a very bad job, but I think he's shown that he's capable of putting together very good stretches. Obviously it's falling apart right now. Like, I don't think people are always just going to be linear on the exact same path the whole time. I think you can go have your ups and downs. I think he's definitely capable because he's shown that he's capable. It's just how consistent can you do these jobs? That's like the key. Still talking about Milrow. Milrow is very athletic. Milrow is an insane athlete. He's one of the best athletes I've seen at the quarterback position. Yes, Malik did, but I don't know. I think that was more on play design than on Malik, honestly, Christopher. Because I've seen us run something similar to that. But he might have been slightly out of position. Thank you for the therapy. That's basically what this is for me. When I get on stream after the fact, just be able to talk it out, with you guys, go back and forth, be able to at least get our thoughts out, get out, some of the emotions. It's definitely helpful. Try to at least, bring a little more of a logical perspective at times too, which isn't always the case, and it's fair not to be the case because it's just how human beings can be sometimes. But yeah, my fear is that he seems to have zero ability to adjust. I think it's a fair fear to have. Tua told Waddle, "You better not catch that." Oh, you're funny, Billy. You are funny. I agree, Sean. I agree. Especially with Huntley. If you watch Huntley film, he loves throwing to tight ends. Just taking some easy routes. And I understand, like, the Titans were kind of forcing you to push the ball down the field with how they were playing. But man. Wish we had someone a little more proven behind to it, yeah. But not mine. AJ McCarron. AJ McCarron. We're talking about AJ McCarron? Honestly, guys, I think at this point, I don't think there's QBs you're adding that's going to change anything. I think you're just rolling with what you have for at this point in the season. I'm saying, after the year, sure. But like this point in the season, it's for Hal. Yeah, I mean, Hal would be the best option, but I'm just saying I don't know if isn't Hal like their clear backup? Does Seattle have anyone else besides Hal? Like Hal would be a fun option too, because I think he has some skill to him. He's not perfect, but also I think too is like the problem is I think even if the Dolphins are 1-5, like Lofi just said, even if the Dolphins are 1-5, I think Tua is going to try to come back. Whether the Dolphins think he should or not, I think Tua is going to try to force himself back, being like, if he's cleared, he's going to be like, I'm playing. Like, put me out there. I don't care if I ruin our draft. Like, he's going to try to go out there. And I think McDaniel will be like, hey, if he's healthy to play, let's play him. He could save my job. But I don't know. I think if the Dolphins are 1-5, they probably shouldn't. From a perspective of like, hey, the season's over. You shouldn't risk it, Tua. Plus, also, like, we'll probably get a better draft pick. McDaniel would still have Hal run all his motions and schemes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's going to have anyone back there run all his motions and scheme. I just think Hal is potentially better than what they have, but that's all with a grain of salt. No one's going to... I still think Huntley is the best QB on the roster outside of Tua. Obviously, he played horrible last night, but I think it was a lot to ask of him. Plus, it's just a very tough system. I think Boyle probably would have played better last night because he understands the system, but I don't think Boyle is better, if that makes sense. Because Boyle has 4 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in his career, and we saw how he was with the Jets last year. I think he got to look pretty good against the Seahawks because the Seahawks started playing pretty soft defense, and he started just like giving him some easy pitches and catches. If we draft a first-round QB, who do you like the most? It's early in the process, so I'm not going to commit to anyone just quite yet. But the guy that I like watching the most right now, and he might not even declare, is Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. He probably also is the best fit for McDaniel, but I also just think as an NFL prospect, there's certain ways like QBs play that translate really well to the next level. And his ability, like his pressure to sack rate is like really low. Like I think it's like 2 point something percent. Like when he gets pressured, he only gets sacked on like 2 point something percent plays. So he's got really good pocket awareness. I think his ability to anticipate and throw over the middle is really good. Plus, I think he's got the physical gifts. And it's really only his first year starting. So like he'll make some mistakes. But to me, with like a player like him compared to like someone else, like I really like Cam Ward too. But Cam Ward's like in his 4th season playing like significant snaps and still will make those boneheaded mistakes. This is Nussmeier's like first year playing. So it's like I feel like, oh, he could potentially improve with more time. While Ward is kind of like, that's who he is. Like he's going to make some highlight plays, super impressive arm talent, super impressive athlete. But then we'll, try to force some things. I mean, Hal intrigues me. Sorry, I'm missing Bryce Young. I mean, I don't know if Bryce Young would come in and play too well right now either. So Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones would very much struggle in this system. I think a lot of people think Mac Jones could play in this system because him coming from Alabama, and people see him similarly to Tua. I think Mac Jones would absolutely crumble behind the Dolphins' offensive line. I think he's one of the worst players under pressure in the league. Obviously, he might not be worse than what the Dolphins have, but like I don't know if it's worth it to trade a pick. Plus, I mean, I think Tua is going to be back and after the 2 games. That's just my guess. I don't have any sources. I just think from reading between the lines, reading some of the reports that have happened, I think Tua is trying to get back. They're saying he doesn't have symptoms. He feels good. And I think if you think about the perspective of Tua, who seems like he wants to play very badly, think about it from the perspective of the coach and the GM, who are like, we need to win. They're going to try to have Tua back. Why not Russell Wilson? I mean, Russell Wilson would be obviously the best QB outside of Tua on the roster, but he's also, I think, one of the worst scheme fits in the league, quarterback wise. He doesn't really throw to the middle of the field. He would have some big plays. I think he would help with, he can throw a pretty deep ball. So I think he would help create with some of the big plays down the field. But like some of the play action, hitting someone over the middle of the field, I think Russ would struggle with that stuff. And I don't even know if the Steelers would be willing to trade him, you know? Are you guys talking about Hunter Henry? At tight end, I mean, we're going. Beckham, Craycraft, Cam Smith, Wynn, and Chubb can all return this week. Asked which will return this week, McDaniel said window will be open for Odell and Cam Smith. They will be practicing. So Odell and Cam Smith might return this week. Their windows are opened. And I believe it's a 3-week window. They have to return within the 3 weeks. So I'm expecting to see potentially Cam Smith and OBJ very soon. I don't know if that's going to change, and it probably won't change anything until, but I guess things could help. But yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, I think it's too late for the other QBs. I expect Tua to be back in 2 games. Those QBs are going to have to come in and learn a very complicated system. They're not going to have enough time. I think you're just rolling with what you have. You're rolling with what you got versus New England and Indianapolis. Is it? Let's see. Do we play? So we play Indianapolis, right? Or do we play New England next? And then is it a bye and then the Colts? So yeah, so they play New England, then a bye, then the Colts, then Tua could potentially return. God, they might need that bye for injury sakes. Maybe an early bye could be usually an early bye isn't that good, but maybe an early bye could be a blessing in disguise. But also it probably won't be because I'm not super, I mean, I want to, you know, is new. Are we talking about Cam Newton now? Cam Newton is done, pretty sure. Been done for a while. Also would not be a good scheme fit. I think we're kind of wasting our time here. This was Tua's year to give Tua and Harris I told you so haters moments. I mean, it kind of has because of how bad the team's been without him. I mean, I've seen there's a lot of I told you so's going around on both sides of Dolphins Twitter. I don't really want to be a part of that though. Yeah, but to be fair, Irving, Tua would have gotten hate if he did slide because he wouldn't have picked up the first down on a fourth down if he did slide, and everyone would have called him soft. So that's why I'm like, I'm not blaming a guy for trying to make a football play. Obviously, you don't want someone to get hurt, but like, I'm not gonna put it on him for trying to make a play on a fourth down. If there's a way to lose a bye, we'll find it. Yeah, any more questions? I'll have the defensive film breakdown out tomorrow. I might do some individuals throughout the week, like some of the younger guys, because we got to see Patrick Paul in action. I'll probably do Storm Duck because they both played like all throughout the game. I don't know if the other guys played enough. We'll see. And then we'll get into some New England Patriots streams where we talk about the Patriots matchup. I guess the Dolphins can win that game, but we'll see. He is soft, though. Just because you have a, like, how is getting a head injury soft, though? Like, that's not what soft means. If you want to say he's injury prone does not equal soft. To me, soft means that you're, like, afraid out there. You're scared. I don't like the whole soft thing. Just because you get injured does not mean you're soft. Because soft to me just feels disrespectful. What player do you want for Green midseason hoping trade this year since it's going sideways? No one. I wouldn't trade for anyone. Because the season's over, so I wouldn't be trying to add mid-season trades. If anything, you probably trade away when the season's over, but they're going to be fighting for their jobs. He's delicate. You're delicate. How does that feel? You're delicate. How does it feel to be told that you're delicate? Everyone is different when it comes to injuries. No one is the same. I mean, yeah, anyone can get injured. People around the league are getting injured left and right. People who are injury prone, people who aren't injury prone. Doesn't matter. Waddle deserves better. Send him to the Chiefs. Waddle's one of the only players you don't send away. I'm a flower. Yeah, it sucks we're in a spot where we're rooting for the Fins at the same time. I don't know if we want to. Yeah, that's why it's like I'm gonna root for the Dolphins to win always. But if they keep losing and losing, I'm always not a fan of a top pick. So Phillips is a knee injury. When did that happen? It happened on I believe the Kohu PI play. They tried to run a stunt and he was untouched. He literally had to stop on the play. Like he literally took all his pressure, I believe, off of his right knee. Like I remember I was watching him on the play and he was like trying to get after the quarterback, was trying to work around. He was the loop guy on a stunt. And as soon as he planted, he took all of his pressure off his right knee. I think he walked off the field after that, but I don't know, man. That's a big injury for the Dolphins because he's really their only consistent edge pass rusher. And he's also was playing through an Achilles injury. But yeah. If we lose, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. Honestly, I think besides Lamar and Mahomes, I wouldn't take anyone else besides a healthy two in this offense. I mean, there's a few others I would take. For this offense specifically, there's not many. I actually think right now in this league, the person that's running this offense the best is probably Stroud, CJ Stroud for the Texans. They they run a Shanahan style offense. He runs this offense very, very well. Mahomes and Lamar, I don't know. You would probably have to change up the offense if they were your quarterbacks because it wouldn't fit exactly their play style. You signed Phillips a big contract. I probably let Phillips play it out. I mean, if you can get him, sometimes you can get players cheaper because of injuries. So maybe if they get him cheaper because of the injuries, you could sign him to an extension. But to a big contract now, you just can't do it right now with the injuries. Yeah, I don't think, not during the season. There doesn't seem like there's a point to it. I guess the only positive thing that the Dolphins is the rest of the AFC, a lot of the teams are in shambles. They're really not that far out of it if you're just looking at it from a numbers perspective. If you're looking at it from how they're playing perspective, then yeah, it looks like they're very far out of it. From a numbers perspective, like they win and they're like right back in the mix. At least for a wild card. But Jets lost to the Broncos, yeah. Bills lost. Patriots lost. A lot of the AFC teams are kind of middling right now. It's weird. It's weird how the AFC is kind of shaken out. Did Mike announce Snoop is starting? Let me see. Let me see. Plan is for Snoop Huntley to start again for Dolphins at QB. Devontae Adams informed the Raiders that he prefers to be traded. Interesting. Jalen Phillips not expected to play Sunday, Mike McDaniel said. But they're still evaluating how much time he can miss. We might get OBJ and Cam Smith back. I think playing Snoop is probably the right move. I mean, even though Snoop played bad yesterday, we actually scored a touchdown with him. And I think giving him some more time could help him out. I think the reason you get away from Skylar so quickly is because Skylar's been here for 3 years and it looked awful. Snoop at least made some plays with his legs. Plus, I think I do think red zone wise, that was one thing I talked about. I think red zone wise, running some QB power would actually be a way to score, and it was how they scored their one touchdown. Running the ball didn't work straight up, with Achane. They were able to run QB power because it gives you an extra number in the running game. I think that's how they could potentially convert. I think they also need to do that on 3rd and 4th and 1 in short, 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 in the short situations. Doesn't sound like I'm making sense, but did Huntley call his own number on a couple of plays? I don't think he called his own number, but yeah. I mean, yeah. I agree. It just feels like we're farther behind. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like statistically, we're not. I mean, you're only you're a game or two back from being in the wild card. You're a game back from being right in the hunt of the wild card. But if you watch the film and you're watching the tape, it looks like we're so far away somehow. On paper, talent-wise, it's last year. I mean, our team is not that much different, especially offensively. It's really not that much different compared to last year, and it looks so much worse. I'm saying at least to start the year. Obviously, you don't have Tua playing right now. But. Play Snoop. Yeah, if OBJ is back, Snoop has played with OBJ before. Hopefully that can help him. I don't know, man. Hopefully they can find more consistency running the ball versus New England. I think New England, from my understanding, is actually pretty good versus the run. But I don't know. Apparently I saw a tweet. Someone said the Titans were the number 1 ranked defense. I didn't realize they were rated that high. I don't know if that was true or not, but it was some verified account. Maybe it was just a tough matchup. You want to get the ball to Hill and Waddle? Boyle probably better option. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think if Boyle's, I think it'd be just as like I think Boyle obviously has more experience. He might be more willing to rip the ball, but I think if he had to like start the beginning of a game and the defense played like normal defense against him, I think it'd be a rough showing. I think at least with Huntley, he can at least potentially run the ball, and that can extend some series. But we'll see. It's not like I have too much faith in anyone going out there at this point. Yeah. Oh yeah, New England versus the Miami will just be a defensive battle. I think it's whoever can like put their offense in the best position, or whoever offense doesn't lose them the game. I think that was the biggest problem is the Dolphins offense just kept giving the Titans great field position. So many of their field goals came off them starting like on the Dolphins side of the field. But yeah. And y'all can't blame that. I'm not blaming Snoop. I mean, obviously, in my video, I criticized plays of his, but I'm not. But I also said like, I'm not putting this on him. Like, obviously, you're gonna have like there was plays he left on the field, but he's been here a week and a half. These other players in coaching need to step up. Connor Williams and Hunt made a huge difference, apparently. Yeah, but I don't think like I feel like Brewer's been our best offensive lineman, like, and it hasn't been that dissimilar to what Connor Williams playing. Obviously, Hunt compared to Eichenberg is a big fall off, but Hunt was injured in and out of last year. Like the O-line, like yes, the starting O-line was much better last year compared to this year, but the O-line realistically was hurt a lot last year. You never had all of those guys playing and starting together, and the Dolphins offense still at least looked much more functional than it is now. And they have, obviously the receivers have been pretty banged up. It's really only been Tyreek and Waddle, so that could probably play an effect. No Mostert, so maybe that affects your consistency with the running game, but it's just weird. Really weird. Yeah, 15 games missed between Connor and Hunt. That's why I think some of the things where it's like, dude, we're just missing Connor and Hunt, I think that's like a little bit like overstated, I guess. Like obviously it hurts, but yeah, Liam was according to PFF, Liam was the highest graded player. I don't know if I would have had him that as the highest graded player, but he was one of the more consistent ones, which is crazy. Thing is, I believe the New England is healthier and better than Titans defense. Well, apparently the Titans defense is rated super highly. I think sometimes it just matters on matchups. So I'm going to watch New England's defense later this week, and we'll see how they like to play things. The only hard thing is when you evaluate teams' defenses is they play very different. Like teams' defenses play very different versus the Dolphins than they do against most of the rest of the league because the Dolphins' offense has a very specific way of playing. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I haven't seen all 22 yet. Ike played fine, I think. He had a couple bad plays, but it was mostly like his bad plays weren't like super detrimental. I think the rest of the O-line's bad plays were a little more noticeable, you know? Like a more like, oh, that was a big bad play. But we'll see how it plays out, guys. It's still early. We can still have some fun, I guess. I guess as the season goes on, we'll get less and less disappointed when the losses happen. And maybe it will turn around. Eazy has been on the practice squad. They elevated Eskridge yesterday over Eazy, so that should tell us how they view Ezukanma. Not highly. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check out the film breakdowns for the rest of the week. I'll stream at some other points, but try to enjoy it. I'll probably get some draft things going too at some point